Hey YouTube. So just in an effort to continue my give back to the YouTube community, I did a lot of research on a lot of stuff over the years on YouTube, so I feel like it's my obligation to at least share a little bit of stuff that I think people might be interested in. So today I'm going to talk about what it's like to ride this motorcycle for a long trip and what I learned. So I just washed it and it's still raining. It's been raining for about a month. Seems like an eternity, but it is what it is. So I just live in Maine, and I rode down and visited some family in New Hampshire, my grandkids and my son, his fiance, and another good friend of mine in New York. And then I rode down to Washington, D.C. and went to Arlington. Checked out the changing of the guard at the unknown soldier's tomb. Here's some pictures from the road. This was on the way down to Arlington. This is the tomb of the unknown soldier. It's very awe-inspiring. And I rode let's see here. That's how many miles I have on the bike. I've got 3,598, so 3,600 miles I've ridden the bike since I've owned it. So I rode over 6 days. I rode 1,750 miles. And the last day, I thought it was over 700, but apparently not, 677.2. That was a straight run from Washington, D.C. back to Maine, back to my house. That was a long ride, but I learned a lot of stuff. And incidentally, I see a lot of videos where guys are riding their motorcycles and talking about things. So I figured I'd drive my motorcycle and talk about things. First of all, the ergonomics aren't super good on this for a long ride. Not a huge fan of baggers, so I didn't want a bagger. Just because I don't know. We all want to be different, right? But then we all get on the same brand of motorcycle and we all do the same modifications to them and we all end up looking just like each other. So I don't know. It's not really that independent, is it? But I didn't want a bagger because everywhere I look, I see a friggin' street glide or a road glide and I'm just sick of them. Plus, I like to ride a little bit fast. I don't stunt or anything. I'm not that talented, but I have been riding since I was a kid, and I'm pushing my late 50s now, so I've got plenty of time on a bike. And I know what I like and what I don't. I like to be able to go fast and not insanely fast. That bike can be insanely fast, but I wanted to be a little bit more comfortable. My back's not what it used to be. And I think I might have to get a different microfiber here pretty quick. This one's getting kind of wet. Maybe I can wring it out. All right. So one of the things I learned about this bike, or some of the things that I did to it to make it more usable for longer rides. This is one of them. This is Ed Ritchie. I think he only does business on Etsy, maybe. Is that in New Mexico? Edward Ritchie. And very good business. He was on time. Good notifications when stuff was going to be done. Highly recommend it. If you want a sissy bar, I think he does good work. And, I mean, I was going to make one, but I don't think I could make one as good as this. Maybe. But I certainly couldn't make one in the amount of time that he did it for the price that he did it for. as nice as this. So, and I really, if I was going to make one, I don't think I would make one any different than this. I would pretty much just make one like that. So why not? So the other thing I put on there was this, and I'll get back to that sissy bar in a minute. The other thing was these are a Thrash and Supply risers. A little pricey, but they look really nice. They got like some fancy, you know, logos on them down in here, and then I think there's like an American flag or something over here, and they're all CNC, very fancy. They're proud of their stuff, but they should be. It's nice stuff. So I guess, again, you know, you have to look at, like, I fabricate, so I know how much time and effort it takes to do stuff, and you know, it's not that they make all that stuff necessarily in-house, but anyway, I don't begrudge them trying to make a buck. So those helped a little bit with the ergonomics, right? Because, I mean, this bike, I don't know what Harley was thinking. I'm not sure. I'm not like a stunt guy. I'm not from Southern California. I don't know why things are the way they are. But from my understanding, this bike was kind of like this style of bike is a big deal in Southern California. I think there's a lot of like windy roads and stuff there. People want to be able to ride a little bit hard. The roads here are rough. They're not very well maintained. Winter's hard on the roads here. And so, and I heard good things about the suspension on this. I've ridden baggers, and I have a tendency to drag parts when I ride baggers aggressively. So I was looking for something that wasn't going to be quite so likely to get ruined. And this has been really good. I'm very happy with it so far. Overall, it's been pretty good. The brake's weird on this. There's some weird stuff about these bikes. I had to move the shifter up a little bit. It was like way down here. It felt really weird because when you're sitting on the bike, your legs are kind of like, I don't know, just I had to bring the shifter up a bit so it was a little bit more ergonomic. And the same thing with the brake pedal. The brake pedal, when the bike showed up, the brake pedal was like way down here, like level with the foot peg. And you know, your knees back here, my foot just doesn't like go like that, like not easily. It was almost worthless, and it's still pretty worthless. I mean, you can really stand on this brake. It doesn't do much. I don't know if it's because of the ABS or what, but it doesn't really slow the bike down much. I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with it, but I think it's just the way it is. But even now, it feels like the pedal could be up another inch to really have effective. I don't use the rear brake a lot, so I don't sweat it too much. I mean, I usually use mostly front brake, which I think you're supposed to. It's what I've always done. And it's a lot safer, although this bike does have ABS. So maybe I should be using more back brake. I don't know. So that was one thing I had to do. I had to adjust that. And it's not impossible. I mean, if you search YouTube, you'll think it's not adjustable, but it is. There's an adjustment underneath this boot. There's a way to adjust it. And the shift lever is easy to adjust. So that helps. It's a little nugget. The backrest. The reason the backrest was so great was I also changed the seat. I put this, this is a Saddleman seat. It's sold under the name Lucky Dave's, and but it's made by Saddleman. They won't say that, but it is. And it's a good seat. One of the downsides to it is all this fancy stitching allows water to get in it. So, as you can see, by the nice puddle on the floor, it's draining. I'll take it and put it up on the table and try to sop up some of the water out of it so it doesn't ruin the foam in it. But anyway, it is a good seat. It's comfortable. But just be warned, like if you get the seat wet, then every time you sit on it for a while, your ass is going to get wet. But 2-up seat, and I put this is a Saddleman, I think it's a BR 3400. They call it a tactical bag or something because it's got some mole straps on the front of it. Looks a little bit less like an old man bag with those on it, I guess. I don't know. I don't care. But whatever. I like this. I made these little metal things that engage the mole system, and then I was able to use the backrest that normally this bag should go on backwards on the backrest. It's supposed to go on facing aft and like sit on here, right? And then you put that little pad on the front because there's a piece that slides down over the sissy bar, and you put the pad on the front on the Velcro, and that way the passenger has something to lean up against. Cool. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to use the bag for a backrest, so I put it on this way and put the pad here. And I just had to make some little, bent some aluminum straps and put some Velcro on them and stuck that pad to that. And that allowed me to have a nice little backrest because I'm short, and for me to be able to reach the handlebars and lean up against that bag, it's a pretty good reach. I mean, that's pretty far. I don't know how far. I could measure it, but I'm not going to. So anyway, that's that. But that worked pretty good. But I still think I'm going to... So you can put these Thrash and Supply risers on, and you don't have to make any modifications to your clutch cable or your wiring harnesses or your brake line, although I did have to just straighten this just a little bit right here at this banjo fitting. But this is just a short line. But I think I'm going to go with, actually Thrashin makes a set of handlebars that are another, I think these have like a, I want to say 3-inch rise to them, and I think the Thrashins are 5.5, or these are 4, and then I don't know, something like that. And I think what I'm going to do is just they make another set of handlebars that have a little bit more rise to them, like another 2 inches above these, which I think would be perfect. It has the same amount of pullback. All the angles are the same. These are a little bit longer. So this angle is going to be a little bit different in order for the handlebars, but it's the same width. I think they're 30 inches wide. And basically it'll just move these handlebars up another, 2 inches. And if I pull them back a little bit, it'll basically in effect, with these risers and their taller handlebars, I'll have 4 more inches. And you can buy an extension for this that's 4 inches, and you can buy these in oversized lengths. So I'll just put long ones, and I shouldn't have to change. I might have to extend some of the wiring to the switches. I think the throttle, the guy at the Harley dealership was telling me that the throttle wire's long enough. So I probably won't have to extend that, but I will have to extend the switch harnesses. And they make little short harnesses. You can buy them through anybody that sells drag or anything like that. So I think that would be perfect. 4 inches, like I had a lot of time. I'm sitting on this bike for 6 days. I had a lot of time to decide what I thought was comfortable and what wasn't, right? And I think another 2 inches. So the 2 inches that I put in this, from the additional rise and the additional pullback, really made a big difference, and it helped a lot, and it made the ride, again, like I said before, ride your bike, because the more I rode this, the more I got used to it, and the more comfortable it was. And the last day that I rode it, like I said, I did almost 700 miles. That's a pretty long day, and I remember thinking, hey, I could easily do 1,000 miles. Right? That's like the iron butt thing. I could do that. I wasn't hurting. And I rode through some pretty crappy conditions doing that 670 miles. A lot of traffic. Got caught in the rain down by New York City. Rode right through New York. As you can see here from the map, I'm the blue dot. This is the kind of stuff I had to deal with sitting under an overpass, putting on my rain gear. This is like Lombardy rest area. You know, hot weather, humid, rainy, rain gear on, like a sauna. And, you know, a lot of hours of traffic through Massachusetts, New York, Connecticut, Baltimore, Philly. It pretty much sucked. But even then, and then the rain, that's, we're not even going to talk about that, but it was pretty bad. And maybe I should. Maybe I'll put a couple pictures of the rain in here. As you can see here, I had to dodge a lot of weather. But it wasn't terrible, but it was like that all the way up. I just took a quick picture with the camera where it was mounted. And this is looking forward, and then you can see I got pretty wet here. The other things I learned on this trip was, like, you can ride this thing in some hellacious rain. And, I mean, it was raining harder than it is now. And I was doing, you know, highway speeds. And the only thing I noticed, like, I was a little concerned, right? Because the air filter on these things is basically like a scoop. It's this heavy breather air filter. And I mean, it was coming down. So you got a lot of water coming off the front tire, other cars, trucks, and a lot of rain coming down from the top. And I mean, engines can ingest water, right? They do it all the time. And not a lot, but like moisture and water vapor and stuff isn't going to destroy an engine. It's not great for it, but sometimes they do it on purpose on some machines, right? Water injection's like a thing. So I don't think it'll kill it. But anyway, I was a little concerned because it was raining pretty hard. And there was a couple times I would notice what would happen is when I would go to accelerate, like to pass a car or whatever, I'd slow down in traffic and then go to speed up again. When I'd open the throttle, it would stumble. And there was a couple times we're just riding along. It was like almost like the ignition was getting wet or something. I don't know. But the bike didn't fail. And it never stopped making power. And like I said, you know, there was a couple times where it was stumbling and fumbling and it wasn't liking life. But all things considered, it could have been so much worse. I was surprised it didn't give me more problems because it was, I mean, felt like I was underwater a couple times. These are my rain plugs. I made these right after I bought the bike. These, when I first got the bike, it was fall in Maine. It was cold. And I wanted to try to just reduce the amount of air that was coming out of these. So I made these little plugs. I just, these little ducts have a weird shape to them. But you can make these little plugs. I just made them out of like a closed cell foam that was used in some kind of packaging for something I bought. I don't remember what it was. But it's just some packaging foam. And I fit these things, carve them out with like a reciprocating knife, and just like you would any other kind of foam. And then they block the airflow and they block some of the rain. Helps a little bit, makes more of a dead air space back in here when you're in bad weather. And reduces a little bit, you know, all the wind and stuff in here. I mean, it's great in hot weather to have them out, but when it's raining or really cold, it's nice to be able to plug them. So I take them with me. I just keep them in the saddlebags. They don't really take up a lot of space. They're light and they're cheap. And surprised nobody's like come up with like a fancy set of these yet, because they actually kind of help a little bit. I'm gonna put a different windshield on here, like a clear view windshield. It's supposed to be a little higher. This one does make a difference. Like if this one's in there, you don't get that laminar airflow. It's more turbulent coming off the windshield, and you feel it in the helmet. You know, your helmet gets a little bit more turbulence to it with this thing installed, but it is much drier back here in this area. So we'll see. But it seemed to help a little bit, so I would put them in when I was riding in the rain. these foot pegs, I put these on. I use these Performance Machine foot pegs. I'm not wild about them, but I don't hate them either. You know, that used to be like the shit if you had those. These are the factory Harley standoffs. There's a lot of other different ways you can do this. There's Bung King makes a setup that will allow you like crash bars and foot pegs. These foot pegs, the reason I wanted these was like these bikes have provisions to like have these things kind of latch up. There's like a little ball and spring, and like why not use that? And not all manufacturers of these things are drilled for that. So you end up with these, like you're not using the factory design anymore. I mean, a buddy of mine owns a motorcycle shop, and we talk about this stuff all the time. And he's like, the motor company puts a lot of time and effort into research and development to try to make these things as comfortable and reliable as they can be. Why do we feel like we need to change that? Right? I mean, this bike's kind of a specialty bike, and it's made for a certain type of rider doing a certain type of riding. And you got to make them fit you a little bit. So I don't, you know, and I'm not opposed. I mean, this bike has been massaged and massaged and massaged its whole life, and there's not much original left on it. So I'm not opposed to making modifications, but it's nice to be able to just buy a bike that fits the bill and not have to make a ton of mods to it just so that you can enjoy it. Like I have no interest in doing any work to the engine at this point. I mean, I like the fact that I was getting about a 200-mile range on it between fill-ups, which is about as long as you want to sit, or as long as I want to sit. And so, speaking of that, like these foot pegs, you can put these down, and you know, one of the reasons I bought this bike is because it has mid-controls. I like to sit up straight now because my back's messed up, and I can kind of support some of my body weight by the foot pegs, theoretically. But there's still, your feet are still out a little bit ahead of you, and so you're not going to get, it's not like sitting on like a standard Jap bike or a BMW adventure motorcycle or whatever. It's not all that. Like, let's not fool ourselves. But you do have the ability to stand up, which is really cool. Like this bike, standing up, not so much an option. Your feet are way, way, way out in front of you, and standing up's just not really an option. So you do other things, right? Like I put these switchblade, so it gets a little, just allows you to move your foot around a little bit. But aside from that, on this bike, you can stand up on these, but you kind of find yourself really pulling on the handlebars, and it's quite wide across here. It's a wide, you know, I'm not that tall. So to try to straddle that gas tank, that's a lot for me. I've done it, but I found out that I can stand up on these, and it's not bad. Like I can just stand up, stretch my legs, you know, stretch my back a little bit, just for a couple, not even a minute probably, and then sit back down, and I'm good to go for another hour or two. So the foot pegs, the backrest, so the bags on this actually did really good. As long as you don't overstuff them. If you overstuff them, then you're going to wish you hadn't, because it'll cause them, they're flexible enough so that you'll open up the gap between the outer cover and the inner section, and then the bike will fill them with water. Not fill them, because they'll leak right, it leaks right out the bottom. So this bag has some scratches in it because my dumbass tried to come in this garage in the dark when I was half frozen and put it up on the lift with no lights on, and I missed, and I hit the wheel chock, and I dropped this bike, and I blew out the back side of this saddle bag and scratched the clear coat on this bag. I've got a new bag basically on order here, and it scratched the fairing a little bit. Really didn't do much damage. I was surprised because it fell hard right on the floor. And but it was expensive. That wasn't a cheap mistake, I can tell you. So I take the bags off. I mean, this bike was absolutely filthy. I probably should have taken some pictures of it. Maybe I'll post a couple pictures of it like during the trip so you can see how I had it configured. And I guess that's it. But the bags work good, just don't overstuff them. They seem to hold the water out quite well, actually. And any water that does get them drains out the bottom. So it's not bad. And the bike did really well. I'm very happy with it. And I'm gonna stop there because the bike is dry. And I've said what I wanted to say. So good luck. I hope this helps make your decision if you decide to buy a Lowrider ST. All right. Thank you.